welcome to our exploration of the Canons of Dort. These canons represent a significant moment in the history of the Protestant Reformation, offering profound insights into the doctrines of salvation and grace. In this series, we'll delve into the theological depths of these canons, examining their historical context, key themes, and enduring relevance for today. The Canons of Dort weren't just a statement of beliefs, they were also a clear rejection of certain theological errors that had emerged during the Reformation. In this section, we'll explore the specific errors addressed by the Synod of Dort, highlighting the key points of disagreement and the profound implications for our understanding of salvation. The first error rejected by the Canons of Dort concerns the nature of original sin. Some argue that original sin alone wasn't sufficient to condemn humanity. However, the Synod of Dort countered this by emphasizing the Apostle Paul's teachings in Romans, which clearly state that sin and death entered the world through one man, Adam, and that the wages of sin is death. The second error addressed the state of humanity before the fall. Some claimed that qualities like goodness, holiness, and righteousness weren't part of the human will at creation. However, the Synod of Dort countered this by referring to Ephesians 4:24, which describes the image of God in terms of righteousness and holiness, qualities that inherently reside in the will. The third error tackled the impact of spiritual death on the human will. Some argued that the will itself wasn't corrupted by sin, but merely hindered by the mind and emotions. The Synod of Dort rejected this, asserting that the will is indeed corrupted and prone to sin, citing Jeremiah 17:9 and Ephesians 2:3 to support this view. The fourth error addressed the state of unregenerate humanity. Some claim that even in their sinful state, humans could still desire righteousness and please God. The Synod of Dort countered this by citing Ephesians 2:1 and Genesis 6:5, emphasizing that unregenerate humanity is spiritually dead and incapable of truly seeking God. The fifth error focused on the concept of common grace. Some argued that humans could use common grace to gradually attain salvation. The Synod of Dort rejected this, asserting that salvation comes solely through God's saving grace, citing passages like Psalm 147:19-20 and Acts 14:16 to support this view. The sixth error concerned the nature of conversion. Some claim that God doesn't directly infuse new qualities into the human will during conversion. The Synod of Dort countered this by citing passages like Jeremiah 1:33 and Romans 5:5. Emphasizing that God actively pours out his Spirit and his love into our hearts during conversion. The seventh error addressed the role of persuasion in conversion. Some argued that conversion was merely a gentle persuasion, a human-centered process. The Synod of Dort rejected this, emphasizing the powerful and divine work of the Holy Spirit in transforming hearts, citing Ezekiel 6:26 to illustrate this transformative power. The eighth error questioned God's power in regeneration. Some suggested that humans could resist God's grace and ultimately thwart their rebirth. The Synod of Dort countered this by emphasizing God's omnipotence and the effective working of his grace, citing Ephesians 1:19 and 2 Thessalonians 1:11 to highlight God's power in conversion. The ninth error dealt with the relationship between grace and free will. Some argued that grace and free will cooperate to initiate conversion. The Synod of Dort rejected this, asserting that God's grace precedes and enables human will, citing Romans 9:16 and Philippians 2:13 to emphasize the primacy of God's grace. And so, we conclude our examination of the errors rejected by the Canons of Dort. These rejections provide crucial insights into the Synod's theological framework, underscoring the sovereignty of God, the depth of human sinfulness, and the transformative power of his grace. In the next section, we'll delve into the Canon's positive affirmations, exploring the key doctrines of salvation and their implications for the Christian life.